Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Anime Watch Club, a bi-weekly group discussion and review. We're the hosts of the What Do You Say Anime podcast. Nominate and vote on shows either we haven't seen or shows that will hopefully lead to a great discussion. On today's episode, the cool fools of the What Do You Say Anime podcast. We'll be reviewing the 2000 anime original Fooly Cooly. Let's meet today's sexually frustrated main characters. First, he's the most likely to make fun of my big ass forehead to get hit by a guitar. He puts the F in FLCL, the factor himself, Jay. Jay, how's it going?
Is it Cooley or is it Cooley? Nah, it doesn't matter. Whatever. Go on to the next person.
Will do. Our first moderator of the night, his wardrobe is often compared to that of the main character. He's often mistaken for a 12-year-old man-child. We have our Gibson Flying V shredding vote counter, Miles. Miles, how's it going?
You know, I wish I had a Gibson Flying V, and all of the, slander you throw my way would be worth it for one of those guitars. So
Yes, it would.
And, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we got Pat.
The Fooly Cooly himself. That made sense in canon, totally. God, that was an awful one. I'll take the blame on that one. I didn't transition us well at all. But let's go straight into Fooly Cooly's discussion. We got a smaller group today, not a shorter group. It's actually probably an average taller group, given the contestants today. So Fooly Cooly was produced as an OVA back in early 2000. It ran over the course of, I don't know, 9 months, it looks like, 10, 11 months or so, produced by Gainax and Production IG. Gainax, of course, known for doing Evangelion, among other things, and becoming eventually Trigger. And Production IG for doing a bunch of shows, most notably, what's that show where the dad and the daughter hook up? God, I don't know.
You gotta be more specific on that one.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Usagi Drop?
Not my kind of anime, fellas.
Yeah, no, it's not mine either. But it does happen in that anime. But no other anime either. Production IG, they haven't done anything else. So either way, let's get right into it. Why don't we start with our initial first impressions? Again, this is a 6-episode OVA, so it's a little shorter than the normal shows that we review. So why don't we do, I don't know, just first episode, actually, I think is probably a good way to describe your first impression of this show, because it is a show. Miles, why don't you start?
Sure. So if we're just doing the first episode, then I guess I had, I don't want to say negative, but like mixed feelings on the first episode. The show is a lot of fun. It is paced pretty bonkersly, which is like a good time. You can tell like the style and stuff is good. It just didn't really like click for me for like a little bit. Like eventually we have episodes in the show that do click for me, right? So like but it did take a little while for the show to sort of hook me, as they say. Which is, I guess, kind of weird because it's got a lot going on, and it's like a pretty jam-packed sort of show that has a very unique style and everything. So maybe we can figure out why as we go on. I haven't really been able to pinpoint it as to would I recommend this show. Like I would say yes. I think it's a very fun show. I think it's it's like iconic. You can definitely see how it's influenced shows that you might like nowadays. Like Kill la Kill is like I think the most obvious one, being like a Trigger show that you could like really feel is influenced by this, and you could the same studio people were working on it or whatever. So those were my initial thoughts and stuff like that. So
yeah, all right. How about you, Pete?
Yeah, this was one of the few classics that I haven't seen yet, and this story like really grasped me like immediately. I thought the opening scene where she's just driving down the bridge and just smacks him in the head of the guitar really set the tone of like where the show was going. It was very out of left field. I didn't really understand like why somebody would do that, and like kind of the essence of like what the story was telling me. Kind of like Miles, it took him a couple episodes to finally like get into the groove of things. I was hooked immediately. I thought this was a fantastic show. I don't think that this is for everybody. However, this is definitely like a classic. I can definitely see how other shows get its themes and some of its elements from Fooly Cooly. I would recommend it to somebody who's looking to dive a little deeper into the anime scene, because for me, I loved watching this. I love seeing like prior Gainax things that I just haven't seen before. And it's 6 episodes. The dub and sub seem to be both fantastic. I watched the dub and it was wonderful. I think this is just like a very easy thing to breathe through. Where even if it's something that's not necessarily up your alley, I think that it is something that you should definitely check out and try to see if it is up your alley. And just its length is like very like appealing to a lot of people, I think. And yeah, I would recommend to most people.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. And Jay, what about you?
So honestly, definitely not actually my first impression of this show. I
Right.
like, I'm sure a lot of people who listen to this who grew up in America watching Adult Swim dubbed anime. This is probably for a lot of people one of the first anime that they ever actually watched, right up there with like Cowboy Bebop and Inuyasha and Ghost in the Shell, like other true classics as well. So I put it right up there in that echelon of sort of thing. Um, Honestly, I was so shocked that I was the only person, and really, even from members who aren't here, I was one of the only people in the watch club who had seen this before, because it is considered such an all-time classic. I think for a lot of people, it's their first introduction to Gynax if they, haven't seen like Evangelion or something, obviously. So yeah, I don't know. The show, it's very anime, and you get that from the first episode. Like just the crazy character designs of like Haruko and Naoto, even with how kind of stylized his clothing is and whatnot, and just the way everything is designed is so you can really feel the creator's fingerprints all over it from like the beginning episode, I feel. Like from the soundtrack to the way everybody looks to the ridiculousness of the plot to the robots that get introduced super early on. I feel like it is almost it's quintessential anime, I feel. Like it's anime boiled down to its almost purest form, I would say, in some ways. So that's a long, flowery, romantic way of me saying that I would recommend this to anybody who kind of wants to feel the roots of the medium in a way and see something that both influences the future after it and embraces the past that came before it in a lot of ways. So, highly recommend. It's required viewing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and lastly, on my end, I yeah, like Jay had said, I was one of the people who had not seen it yet, and I had people tell me to watch it, and I don't know. To me, I just it never really caught my eye. Um, but after that first episode, I was intrigued at the very least. Like a couple of the other guys have said, it's very fast paced. Just it just goes and it keeps going and going, and you can tell that this guy knew he only had 6 episodes or he only had however long to tell the story that he wanted, and that doesn't it didn't always work for me, the pacing, but I overall really enjoyed the ride, and I think we'll get into some more of the nitty gritty stuff later on, but I would recommend this. I think for especially I mean I can see why it was on Adult Swim. It's something that it's not like a super complex story about um something that only people in Japan would get, let's say, right? Like it's more of like a coming of age story, right? Something that could be very easily transferred to an American audience or a Western audience. And I think that the um it is just so it's so all over the place that I think that it can appeal to a lot of people. So I would recommend this show, but I wouldn't recommend this as someone's like first anime. I would want them to have something with a little bit more structure, I think. So they don't expect every show to be like this, because if they did, it would be very hard to recommend them anime afterwards. It'd be like, all right, maybe Gurren Lagann, maybe Kill a Kill, and then after that, I don't know. It's kind of hard to find other shows that are this like inconsistent is the best way to describe it, but it's not in a bad way. The inconsistent pacing and inconsistent um flow.
Erratic
You
might
know,
be a better term
erratic.
for it.
Yeah, maybe erratic is an easier way to put it. There we go. But yeah, alrighty. So now that we have done our first initial impressions, spoiler free, now let's move into the spoiler section. So if you haven't watched the show, Again, I think it sounded like we had 4 pseudo yeses, if not must watches. So you can pause this, come back 6 episodes later, and come join the discussion in the comments or in any way you want to. But yeah, Miles, why don't you kick us off? What's our first talking point that we were planning on talking about?
Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about. I think we've all sort of alluded to, I want to say the general the pacing of it, sort of hectic or erratic, as Jay was saying, and that was the first thing that I kind of wanted to talk about because, um, this is the thing that I think helps the show a lot because it I think gets you in the mindset of sort of like a younger teenage boy and how crazy his life is and everything, and just it helps add to the absurdity of what's happening, right? Like, I think that the events that are happening would feel a bit weird if they were very methodically planned out, just because of how strange everything that's happening is, right? Um, so what did you guys like? What of the pacing like worked for you guys? Did things not work for you? For me, it like I recognize that I think it's a good artistic choice for the story that they're telling, but I needed I think it to be a little more grounded, but that doesn't mean it should have been that way, if that makes sense. It's just sort of like a personal taste thing. But Pete, you were saying that it hooked you, right away.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very different from like traditional Gynax. Like, take for example, His and Her Circumstances, 24, 25 episodes. Neon Genesis, 24, 25 episodes. Gurren Lagann, 24, 25 episodes. Fully Cooley being 6 episodes is like really like shifting the tone of like traditionally like what Gynax does. And I like how they set the tone immediately in that first scene. It is just in your face, wild, out of control. Whether it's the visual storytelling with like the slow mo scene where they go around, um, Mama, what's her name? The girlfriend, whatever her
Mama
name is.
Me
Mama Me, yeah, like her
or
face,
Mommy Me or
and just like how outlandish and
Mimi.
how
Mommy Me.
comical that scene was. I feel like they said they did a very good job at setting the tone immediately of like this is what the show is going to be, and it didn't sugarcoat it and didn't try to like dance around the fact that it wasn't going to be anything else. So I give it props to that, and just when shows do that, then I know what to expect, and that's what I got, and so I was very happy with the pacing that I saw.
Yeah. I think it manages the line between like the absurdness and like the almost kind of like John Green-esque YA element of it very well. John Green before John Green YA, by the way. Uh just like that nothing ever happens here. My older brother left and I don't understand it. All the women in my life are extremely strange, and my father is a weirdo who is writing Evangelion. Uh, like I don't know. I definitely agree with all that. Like I think that the pacing is it's erratic, and that will turn a lot of people off for sure. And that it's erratic to say the least is what I'll say. Um, I think I don't think it's really meant to be. I'm trying to find the way to describe this.
Can I say something silly that might be a little
Yeah,
confusing?
yeah. Go ahead.
What if okay, how would you feel if this was 12 episodes but like 15 minute like shorts? Like the way we see in today's day and age where we just get like 12 to 13-minute episodes, but it's still in that 12 like episodic format that we see today, whether this is the 6 episode 25-minute
I
episodes.
think you need the
I think I
because
like
these
the 6
episodes,
episodes better.
yeah,
Like they still have a pretty coherent plot like plot structure that you can follow at least. It's like the details that happen in between point A and point B that kind of get confusing.
Let me follow that up. Would this be better as a movie?
I actually brought that up to my girlfriend when we were watching it. I was like, I wonder if this would work as a movie, and I think that we kind of settled that the characters wouldn't have been able to develop it quite as well in a movie unless it was like 2 hours long.
Yeah, I mean, this has a runtime of about 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
But I do think that, as Jay alluded to, these episodes are, in a way, standalone. There is an overarching plot, but a lot of the bulk, I would say the bulk of each episode, except for FLCL Climax,
Yeah.
which is the name of
Oh,
the last.
I think it's fully climax.
Is
Is
that
what
what
they
it
call.
is? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, is uh it, contained within that episode. There are sort of character arcs throughout those episodes. Like the baseball one is the one that rings the most true to me. It plays off of stuff that came before. The things that happen end up happening later, but like that episode, which I think was my favorite one, sort of, if you just saw that, it would make sense. And I think that that's a reason you don't want a movie and a reason you don't want these like 15-minute shorter episodes or whatever, 12-minute
Yeah, I
shorter
think they.
episodes.
I agree. I think they chose the perfect format for the story they were trying to tell. Like especially with how they chose to do the pacing,
Yeah.
and that's why we don't see anything that has like the 21-minute episode format, because nobody else is like. It's hard to make a good story when the pacing is like that, and that's what makes this special. Is they manage to translate that erratic pacing from the manga so perfectly into animation.
Yeah.
Sometimes literally with manga panels.
I will say I've said that I'm not the biggest fan of the pacing, but what this does that other media that has this pacing I think generally fails to do is uh, it gets so close to like losing the thread, in my opinion, but it always keeps it there. It keeps it going, and you have like a through line throughout the entire series. It never completely jumps the shark. It skis around the shark a lot, but it never goes directly over the shark,
I
in
think
my
it.
opinion, at least.
I
Um,
also, yeah, I also think it like it just when it does pull you back in, like you said, or pull it back to the story. I think it does a really good job of then actually making it clear that that's what it's doing, rather than just like you know giving you
Yeah.
that hint without telling you that it's a hint I don't know, maybe that's not the right way to put it, but like um when it comes back to the story and becomes a little bit more serious, you can usually tell when that is happening, or when and it doesn't it's not like some mystery, full on mystery that you have to like figure out that some I don't know, again, I don't like
Yeah. I would
mysteries
say
like that as much, but yeah, go on.
it's more like character driven than plot driven overall. Like the plot is there with Atomisk and stuff, but at the core of the plot is definitely Naota and how he's dealing with the people in his life and their various neuroses, and specifically the people in his life trying to mold him into what they want him to be, like force him, whether it's his brother's ex-girlfriend trying to force him to be Takun, or Haruko trying to force him to be Atomisk, or trying to force him to get Atomisk to come out, or something like that. you know uh I think at the end of the day, it is very much focused on like his relationship with specifically the women in his life, but also like his dad and grandpa to a lesser extent.
I know that the story is like kind of focused around like the becoming of like an adult. Like Naota is the resemblance of childhood, Haruko more of like the adulthood side. And we've done a show like this before on Watch Club with Sunny Boy, and I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on how, like, did you like this style of like coming of age better or worse than, like, say for instance Sunny Boy? Did you like how they told that story in Fooly Cooly? Because to me, I personally enjoyed how they handled like the metaphors and like the symbolism and the visual storytelling in Fooly Cooly, and how they just resembled that. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on that.
yeah. So God, this is so crazy. So, and I think this probably speaks to like the uh, universality of Fooly Cooly, because like the, I had a really really easy childhood. So like a lot of this, you know, struggle coming of age stuff like sort of misses me because you know, I never had to deal with like those issues. But some of the stuff in Fooly Cooley like really hit. And like some of it missed, but like to me, I guess I liked the coming of age aspect of Fooly Cooley more than I liked it in Sunny Boy. Like I think I liked Sunny Boy more overall, but I think even just like the end where Haruko's just like, "Do you want to come with me?" No, like you're just a kid. Like it reminds me of like a very I don't know. Y'all have to read The Outsiders in in middle
Of
school.
course, stay golden,
Yeah.
Pony Boy.
I actually
Yeah.
never read or watched that.
Oh,
Funny
okay.
enough.
Do it
I
for
pro-
Johnny, man. Do
But
it for
like
Johnny.
to me, it sort of like hits that same like you know. I don't know if you remember like when you were a kid and you like wanted to grow up like so bad, right?
Mhm.
And then like
Now
just
you
like
realize it fucking sucks.
yeah, and then like the perspective of the adults to know like I know that you want to do this, but like it's don't. And like I got those vibes a lot from like the episode 6 Haruko interactions with Naota. Like that was the sort of
Yeah.
vibe I got from it. And I really that hit me because you know I've been doing a lot of growing up recently, a lot of big life events happening, and they're exciting and fun. But you know, life isn't as carefree as it was when I was 12. So
For reference, Miles
yeah.
bought a PS5, so his life changed.
I did, and I couldn't believe that I got one, but
You went to Target, there was
You-
one there, you're like, my life
it
has
was
changed.
unbelievable. It was
honestly. Sorry, I feel that so much because like understand that my context for watching Fooly Cooley was like staying up at a slumber party when I was like 9 years old or some shit like that, watching the dub of this in somebody's living room. And like, yeah, just thinking back to that, it's like, man, back then I was like, can't wait to grow up. I'm gonna move to California and uh and now it's like, man, that fuck, I didn't do any of that shit. I moved to the exact opposite of California actually. And yeah, growing up is not a fun thing actually. Like I mean in some ways, the freedom is great, but yeah, we're not a philosophy podcast.
oh goodness, but yeah, no, I mean, I think this like how it's hitting, right? Like shows to how well they they did
Mhm.
the things, you know, and like for other people who had different experiences, I'm sure there are other parts of it, you know, that hit. Like, has everyone here seen Kill la Kill?
Yes.
Okay,
100%.
I
So-
dropped it, but I've seen it.
okay.
Ah, that's foul. But
To
yeah.
me,
Hiss.
and I don't know if anyone else got these vibes. The Nandaba, anyways, Noata's family, they did they seem like
Reminds-
a
yeah. The
like-
proto Macan.
yes, they seemed like
Yes.
a darker proto Monconcho family, you know, but like with NTR, like when the dad is
Yeah, it would
banging
be like
Haruko.
if the street doctor dad was like trying to slurp eggs from like Lady in the Tramp Ryuko or some shit like
Yeah, because they were like, because it's like in Kill la Kill, the horn dogness of the family and the dog, who's also a horn dog, is played for laughs, right?
hey, his name first of his name is Guts, sir.
Sorry. You know, it's played for laughs, and like that's actually a bit in Kill la Kill I have an issue with because of the anyway, that's irrelevant.
No,
but
I understand.
but
get you.
this, it's played pretty sinister. Like I don't know if that struck anyone else, but like
Oh,
that's normally a bit that's played for laughs in anime, and it's just sinister in this.
yeah, the one scene where like he's rubbing his fucking beard on her is one of the most uncomfortable scenes.
Yes. Oh my god. And then there's a
That
lot
is
of these
vividly
things.
etched into my head from my childhood, by the way, of me being scared that some adult figure in my life would walk in while I was
Start
watching that,
rubbing
and I
their
have a
beard
"What
on
are
you.
you watching?" moment.
It wasn't like a Dean from Community thing where he's looking at a picture of a Dalmatian and says like, "This better not awaken anything in me." Like that wasn't the aspect of it.
Honestly, it probably does. Damn. That's a fuck. I gotta go think about some shit.
um, but that, and then like the way that Mamimi and him like I don't know if you guys know the age difference, but that's like she's like
She's like 5
17
years old.
and
She's like
he's
5 years
12.
older than him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is like a lot for people that age, right? And it's like she's
That's a
just
huge maturity difference.
yes. Um and like that is something that's often not even just in anime, but like with older women and younger men is played as like a aren't you lucky kind of thing, which is like, you know, but like again in this played pretty sinisterly, and it's just I don't know, did you guys get that vibe from it? Because it was off-putting to me, and like
Yeah.
in a good way in retrospect, but while I was watching it I was like I don't like this is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
um
It's definitely meant to be uncomfy. I'll let the other two if they have. I've been holding up the whole time, so.
It's okay. This is your show, so I don't mind. Um, but fuck you and thank you for recognizing that you need to shut up. Yeah. The Sinister coming out from I don't know. For me, this Mamimi, I think, is what she normally went by in the show. Like the older sister's ex or whatever.
Yep.
That bit was very uncomfortable to watch. I was not a fan of it at all. It was really well done, I think, because it made me feel that way, right? Like that's what the purpose of it was. But it was nice to see it go differently than and like it was cool to see that he didn't just like roll over and let it happen either. You know, like he wasn't just very accepting of it like someone normally would be
Yeah.
in an anime like this. I thought the dynamic between Haruko and the main guy was great. With the family, like you said, it was not great. God, his dad was just like, ugh. Like you said, the parts of Kill la Kill that made me uncomfortable made it was showing even worse in the show.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. It didn't feel like he. I guess he brought like the whole like patriarchal expectations or something like the frat boy mentality, more like the locker room mentality, like maybe he was supposed to
Mhm.
represent that to some extent. Like, oh, come on, bro, just help me out, like even though he's the fucking dad, which was so weird. I don't know. Those scenes were usually the ones that I was kind of like sitting back and like, really want to watch this right now. But then I would pull it right back with something cool happening on the screen, or some reference to like South Park or some other um a lot of Western references in this,
Bots.
that made watching a little bit easier for me. When all those awful things were happening too. Like I think it was the dad figure that half the time was in. Oh wait, no, it was Amuro, the other older guy in the show.
The
He was,
eyebrows.
yeah, eyebrows
Yeah.
guy. Like he was the one that was often looking like a South Park character, and I was just like, "This is
oh, he
great.
has a
Like this is
really
so
creepy
funny."
line when
He
when
has a
he
couple
sorry, but like when he puts his hand on his like uh
coworker.
lowers like
Yeah.
his like yeah coworkers, and she's like this is problematic, and he's like like with problems this small like it was just very like it felt like a little ahead of its time
He's
as
meant to
far as
be
addressing
like
it though.
an he's meant to be a representation of how Naota's path could go, like if he doesn't get over Haruko.
Okay.
There's one thing with Mamma Me that I kind of want to touch on, and kind of I feel like you could go like really in depth with her character. I thought she was insane,
Yeah.
super
I,
fascinating. Kind of like in the beginning where they like mentioned like you smell like cigarettes. Like we kind of realized that she's smoking. Towards the end, she starts smoking again. Her like we don't find out until later that she kind of got broken up by Naota's brother. because in the beginning we're kind of understanding that that's his brother's girlfriend, but they actually broke up, and just kind of like her trying to like come to terms with like who she is, I thought was like really like sinister, dark, because like it was like really serious like undertones. Like she was longing for this guy, so she was using his brother essentially as like a proxy, not being feeling like not she's not good enough, wanting revenge. And I thought that was like a really well representation of like a 17-year-old, like in like a little like darker tone. I felt like I was watching like Degrassi or Riverdale or the OC or One Tree Hill or something like that, where it's like you're taking the teenage dynamic of like being a 17-year-old girl and kind of turning it up a little bit to add to that effect. And I really enjoyed her character, even if it was uncomfortable at moments.
I really liked her character too, honestly. I think she has probably one of the deepest characters on the show to examine, in my opinion. Like, just in general, her whole, like, obsession with smoking and flames, and then you find out about, like, how she met Naota's older brother. Like, he saved her from a fucking fire and shit like that. Like, uh, I don't know. I definitely agree. She has a extremely like I think we could have like there could be like a whole mini episode examining. Not that we should do that, but we could spend 30 minutes talking about just her character arc. I feel So I kind of segues into like, did any of you guys have any particular like scenes that you really enjoyed? Because I think that the breakout scene that really kind of locks you in is definitely the Never Knows Best scene with her smoking the cigarette that has that phrase written on it, which is just a key part of every aesthetic anime blog since the beginning of time, I should say.
Well, as we have established in our Discord, while it is bad for you, smoking is really cool,
Mm-hmm.
and that is just super proven by the aesthetic of that. Like a cigarette that says "Never Knows Best," like that's
Like
like
the coolest part of Chainsaw Man.
yes, and it yeah, God, it really is the coolest part of Chainsaw Man, isn't it? Um, I'm gonna get canceled in fall when that comes out.
No, we're all in the same
Um,
boat. You're good.
but like I think like it sets the tone of the show. It sets the tone of the character. It sets the aesthetic of the show. It is, and it's just a scene with a cigarette. Like it's really there's so much in this show, you know, that does that to me. So my favorite character that Naota interacted with, I guess like my favorite woman that he interacted with was Eri, like the girl who is like his age,
Mm-hmm.
who I think my impression was that she like liked him and was always annoyed that these older women were coming out of nowhere and like grooming him basically. um but like there's the scene where they're like trying to pull, I forget what it is, something, but they're like going two different ways, and I thought that was just shot like really really well, like the visual like juxtaposition of all of that. I think it was episode 3 with the play, which I just like really liked that episode.
She
Yeah,
has
that
one of
was a
my
good
favorite
episode.
lines in the entire show when she's talking with her friends. This might be different in sub, but in dub, it's just like, well, like, how did you overcome it? She's like, I just cried and then talked to my parents. Just like,
Yes.
wow, funny how you got over that real quick by, talking things out and letting your emotions go for a little bit.
Yeah.
I should
For
try that.
it's not bad.
Just-
There are like really cool like hints of like Western culture stuff that I really enjoyed in this. When she dressed up as Elvis and then was playing, she said like something about Jimi Hendrix, and I thought it was really cool that she like played the guitar like upside down and left-handed. She switched it because that's how Jimi Hendrix plays the guitar. And it was like little things like that where it's like they really paid attention to like the small details. His dad dressing up as Lupin was funny. The South Park episode where we're getting these like Western style like cartoons because the director just straight up said, I liked South Park, so I wanted to incorporate it into the show. I liked baseball, so I put in a baseball episode, and stuff like that. Was just like small details, really fun. You could tell that they were having a blast making this, and I think that
Yeah.
I think it came through Man, there's like another scene where like the eyebrows guy gets hit in the forehead and then she pulls it out and it's like super small. It's just like the innuendo that like this dude's dick is super small was, I just thought like little things like that was just great.
There was a lot of penis innuendo.
Oh, there's so much penis in the show.
100%.
A lot of dick jokes. And it fits because if it's inspired by South Park or somewhat related to South Park in some way, then there you go.
And puberty. The show's like really into puberty.
Like male adolescence is filled with dick jokes. And this is really from that sort of perspective. Oh goodness. You know what? I want to give a shout out to this. The first thing I saw, I think one of the first things you see in the anime is the factory, right? And I was like, no, it's like an iron. That's very clearly. And then that played into like the actual plot. It was an iron. It was supposed to wrinkle out like smooth over the world or whatever. And so I don't know. I thought that was a really fun example of something that was just like hidden in plain sight, kind of like.
We really use the term smooth brain a lot. The analogy of the symbolism of the iron is that the smartest people have the most wrinkles in their brain, and that the iron will smooth out their brain. That's literally what it is. It's literally trying to make the world smooth brain.
Trying to get that koala brain going on.
I thought that was
they have
so
like very
funny.
few. So that factory is actually just Cloverworks, right? Because they're producing Bunny Girl Senpai in an attempt to smooth out our brains. So I got past attention.
We were. I was just saying.
We have to fire that Socks just when he's not even here.
I'm sorry, Socks.
Yeah,
I really am.
It's okay. Well, we are accepting new moderator watch applications for our watch club. So if you guys would like to join us, please join the Discord and come talk to me, and we'll set you up. Just have to get my hands on that Excel sheet, and then we're all good to go. Don't tell Miles that though. I muted him, so he can't hear me. Wink, wink.
Yes, that is how muting works. I do. I think we would be remiss, really quick, unless anyone else has something before we talk about like the music and the sound design and the visual design and stuff of this show. Just like the production of this show needs to be discussed. So if anyone else has anything they want to get to before we get to that, hit me up. But
no, I think we're pretty good.
What a great soundtrack, huh?
Yeah. The pillows are definitely a lot of, just due to what I said before, a lot of people our ages, in our general age groups, first introduction to Japanese music as a whole, I would say, honestly, right there alongside the likes of stuff like Asian Kung Fu Generation and Utada Hikari and whatnot, just so good. The pillows are iconic. Like it holds up. So like if anybody just find themselves just like tapping their foot or like just jamming to the fucking soundtrack every now and then.
So I had never heard the pillows before this, right? But to me, it felt like I was playing Tony Hawk Underground again. Like that was like the vibe of the music I got. Like it really transported, because that's what the type of music is what I was listening to when I was like 12 and 13 and everything. And it was just, and when it started playing, it was like very like, I was like, yeah, like let's go, like let's do it, let's hop in a TV man and kick the shit out of an alien or whatever. Like it was great. And I didn't know this. All of this is just the same band, huh? Like that's the okay.
And they do the music for all the other Fooly Coolies as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which those are we don't have to watch.
Is the music still good though?
Don't worry. The music is probably the best part.
Okay, I believe it from what I've heard of the sequels.
It's one of those things where like when you think about like the genre of music you were listening to when you were like 12, 13, 14, whatever, like to me it's like Backstreet Boys and then into like what you said, Tony Hawk. It was like Sum 41. It was The Offspring. It was stuff like that where like if I was like in Japan and like I was discovering the Pills for the first time, they'd probably be like my favorite band, and it just matched the aesthetic of adolescence and growing up and coming of age, and a little bit of like a rebellious period too in his life, where I felt like it just matched perfectly with it. And honestly, like technically speaking, this show was just a masterpiece. Technically speaking, I thoroughly enjoyed so
Yeah.
many elements of this, but like the music
It holds
definitely
up
stands
so
out.
well for a show from like 2002.
If you
Am
if
I
you
like
asked me
Yeah.
what year this was made, I would have said like 08,
Like,
09.
Let me see
I
when
might
it was
have guessed
actually made, because it was
earlier.
made 2000.
2000.
First
Yeah.
episode was April 26, 2000. Like,
So
this looks better than shows that are coming out today.
I said the
Like, a
same
lot better.
thing.
it does. So like
Ooh.
a show I even like that's coming out today, Life is Hard for Mobs, the Atome game show, right? Like Pete and I both like that show. But like the fight scenes are super static. And you know, like the Shield Hero is another example of a popular show that's coming out today that just like looks kind of bland compared to this. And you know, that's a massive show.
You know, there's
Um,
one scene that stuck out to me particular, and it's not a scene that I think a lot of people would think of when in terms of like animation or something like that, is when Aries doing the high jump. It is so
no, that's so
clean.
good.
It is so clean. Running and walking in anime is so ugly. And that was like
That was
The-
just them flexing right there.
it
That
was so
legitimately them
well
flexing.
done. Even now, like if you watch like Spy Family, look how they walk. Like it's a little awkward when their entire body is shown. Like a lot of times what they'll do is they'll do like the half cut, so you just see above them and you can see them moving, and that's how you know that they're walking. When they do the full body things, a lot of times it's super awkward. I could not believe how clean this was. It was incredible.
This is
Yeah.
the fourth oldest show that we have watched. So, like, this is bracketed by Razafon
Mm.
and Now and Then Here and There. And, like, this looks so much better
Two
Then-
masterpieces.
than both of those masterpieces.
Thank you.
But, like, even, like, you know, if we keep on going up, like, Elfen Lied, Aria, like, Aria was something that we said, I bet this looked great in 2005, but it's a bit dated now. You know, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, like, you know, stuff like that. Even that's a movie, and I think this looks better than that. Like, you know, the two oldest ones we've seen are Perfect Blue and Akira, and, you know, this doesn't
That
have-
doesn't count.
Hard to beat those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Hard to
that's-
beat those.
yeah,
They
what-
don't count. They're movies. They're
yeah,
different.
so one
I
of
mean,
those is Akira. Like,
Yeah.
that's,
Oh,
but, you know, like, oh god, it was so good looking. Like,
I-
holy shit.
I liked it. And I think one of the reasons I liked it a lot is because it's flat, like it's the old flatter style of animation, but like they do so much with it that it doesn't bother you as much as like other shows that are flat and then static or flat
It's
and
still very fluid.
and yeah, like it flows very well. Because you know the lines aren't like you know if you were to say what is more detailed, so to speak, right? You Violet Evergarden or this, then Violet Evergarden or any other most of the modern shows, right, that are considered well animated. But this has the, like you said, Jay, the fluidity and the
I feel like
I don't-
some of
it-
this kind of
it moves well.
translates. Yeah, it like you can definitely see where they were drawing from with how they animated and drew Kill la Kill. I feel.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And
They were
like-
definitely aiming for something similar to this with Kill la Kill.
and like the background detail isn't that great in this, but it's not like bad either. You know what I mean? Like it's not super detailed, but that's because it doesn't care that it's not, you know, and the show doesn't give a shit that when the
Mhm.
characters are, you know, maybe let's say like a third of the or not a third, you know, 1/10 of the screen size, then they're just doodles. They're not like actually fully drawn, and the show just doesn't care, and it works. Versus in like other shows, you know, it might come off as lazy or not, you know, or
Mhm.
rushed, whatever you
Well,
would
yeah,
want
it
to
just
say.
uses those tricks of animation that we learned about when watching Keep Your Hands Off Isoken, like really well, and not in a way that's distracting. Because, I mean, that's what makes a good animation studio, right? They know when you can cut a corner, and when you need to go all out, and when you need to do all of these things, and then like when drawing something simpler might actually help the whole composition and stuff. There's just so many things about this. It was very, for a show that came out recently, that it, like, the fluidity of it reminds me of was like Vivi, where Vivi had like really dynamic action sequences and very fluid animation and everything, and like this does too. It doesn't have like the cleanness necessarily of modern stuff, but the actual fluidity of the animation is, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna say, on par with even top tier modern stuff.
Oh,
Like it's
that
Absolutely.
gunfight is insane. The gunfight
Yes.
in like the hospital area, I believe, is just with Amuro and Haruka. Haruko is fucking crazy. Like, oh, I watched the storyboarding for that actually, and it's incredible to see the storyboarding side by side with the actual animation. Would definitely recommend looking that up at some point.
This is the type of show when I saw something like SSSS Gridman or something like that, where I go, I sleep, and then it's like trigger, and I'm like, I'm woke. Like, this is the type of show that where like when it gets attached to a studio, it's automatically on my plan to watch or something like that. Like Trigger is planned to watch no matter what they make. A Kyoto Animation is planned to watch no matter what they make, and stuff like that. And like this is the type of thing where I'm expecting even for 2000, I was expecting like average animation, and it was just incredible. And it's another technical aspect, and I kind of want to touch on just a smidge. But for the people who saw the dub and how influential the dub is to Western audiences, that prior to Fooly Cooly, there's a really cool video, something Cypher, I forgot, the cartoon Cypher. He did a video on why the dub of Fooly Cooly is so important. I think when people look back at like the most popular or best dubs of all time, a lot of people think like Full Metal Alchemist and Cowboy Bebop, and it's ties that Fooly Cooly did were able to make those productions happen, of having the director, having the technical directors of these studios come over to America to explain references and why they had this and how we translate that to English. And you see that in Fooly Cooly. I think the biggest example is when the robot goes to the 7-Eleven to buy the porno bag, and it's referenced as Hustler, and is referenced that they wanted the Anna Nicole magazine, which is really cool that they tie that specifically to Western audiences, because in the sub, it is, I think it's just referenced as like a Kababon or whatever they're called, like those like 7-Eleven-esque stores. It's a specific Japanese magazine, and it's a model that nobody's ever heard of. So when you watch that in sub, it might not hit, but when you translate it to a Western audience with that dub, it connects to you. And I just thought that element of like incorporating not just the English dubbing, but like the Western appeal to this audience was just next level shit. And we owe it to Fooly Cooly for doing that. And I want to give it its nod.
It's like
That's like-
localization
that's like
that
the-
isn't erasing gay
Yeah,
people.
that's like the OG version of the Itadori voice actor from Jujutsu recording the "I like tall girls with big butts like Megan the Stallion." That's like the original version of that, basically.
That's a great example.
Yeah. 100% agreed with you on that. Yeah, like I said, this, especially because like Fooly Cooly, the original show, is literally like based around the original voice actresses. Yeah, I see. It's based around the original voice actress's voice. Like the entire vibe of the show is based around how Haruko's voice actor sounds.
Yes.
Like her entire character is based around that like voice, and they translated it so well for the Western audience too. And it, like Pete said, it really goes to show how much you can get out of a dub whenever you don't just like, when you're not completely lazy with it, and tell all your voice actors to just talk in a rising manner like this.
It's crazy that Kari, who is Haruko, that this was like her first main role of a dub. She in her interview, how she practiced for this was she did a Six Flags commercial where she just screamed. That's how she practiced for this role. And to me, I know that she is referenced all the time for like pioneers of like English dub. It's like her, Christopher Sabat, Michael Tatum, like the pillars of like English dub, and like she is like the female version of that, and then she goes on to be like Saber and stuff like that. It's just like it's really interesting to see like where people started from and where they're at now, and that this was her role, and I thought she just destroyed it in the English
Oh
dub. She
yeah,
was
it's
so
it's
good.
iconic. It is iconic. Period.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. That's how you can describe the show in general. I feel like it's just iconic.
Yeah, because like just technically speaking, again, it has things where like if you watch it episodic, where if you just randomly turned on Toonami and you watched episode 4, I feel like you'd be really entertained. And then sort of like what Gainax does, if you want to dig deeper, there are other levels to the show that you can find out more about, and I think that's like what Fooly Cooley does so well. That on the surface, it's a fun action coming of age with like a twist, with the Gainax twist, but deep down there are like complex characters. There's just incredible like animation and music and sound design and all this stuff, and to me that's just like, obviously I'm speaking really highly of it and my ratings will be incredibly high, but I can't believe I had expectations going into this that this was going to be like a 7. Like it's outdated, it's not going to live up to its hype. Like I don't see why it's the iconic show that it is, and then I was just wrong about everything.
Well, that's nothing new.
Well played.
Well, yeah. Are we ready to talk about closing thoughts? You can throw best girl and best boy into those probably. I don't think we need to. It's not a waifu show, you know.
It's a little bit of a waifu show.
Well, it's got waifus, but it's not like, you know.
Yeah, it's not. That's not the point,
not-
right?
Yeah, that's not. And you know, it's funny. We've been saying that a lot lately because it feels like, I guess we started off Watch Club with a lot of shows that had that going for it, with like Rimgar and with Tadakun or something like that. But then it's like
Pre
yeah, that
Bakemonogatari, but yeah, it's been a bit. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute since we've had like a true like waifu baity show, I guess, other than like Rosario. Is that the last one we did? I don't know.
Maybe.
Either way, let's do our closing thoughts. Miles, why don't you start us off with that, and then your score as well, please.
Yeah, so I've talked myself up on this show a little bit just after discussing it. I think that something that a lot of Gainax stuff does is when I watch it, I'm like, this makes me uncomfortable. I don't like this. But like once you're through that and you like look on it back, you were like, it's good that I felt those things. Like, but that was great. Like it wasn't pleasant at the time, but I learned something. And I think Fooly Cooley does that, not to the extent that End of Evangelion did, where I wanted to stop being a human after I watched End of Evangelion. But you know, in a good way. It's fun for sure. And it really does hold up, and you could see the influence. It's the very least interesting is like if you're like a student of the medium, like if you want to, you know, get to your anime roots or whatever, you know, it's a good thing. I think that it's a show that I'm going to be thinking about for a long time, because there's a lot to pick apart and see what it's saying about stuff. And, you know, I might not like all of it, or I might not agree with all of it, or it might not all be apparent even like in a weird way, but like it's there and it's there to unpack. And I think that's valuable. Ultimately, I'm going to give the show an 8 out of 10. I had a great time, and I really would, you know, recommend it for anyone. So
Nice. I agree. I think I got talked up as well in this discussion of the show. I was underselling it a little bit, maybe, or maybe not. We'll see. But either way, Pete, what about you?
Yeah, if you couldn't tell based off what I've said already before, I love this show. I was thoroughly entertained. I thought the surface level of what the show was trying to do, along with the more complex dynamics of like the characters and the settings and the visual storytelling and stuff like that, was just so well done. I think if I watched this in 2000 at my age, this would probably be my favorite anime of all time. I feel like that's kind of like the vibes I was getting. I was so entranced. I was so hooked watching the show. So normally what I do with my anime watching is that if I'm at the gym, or if I'm like running or something like that at the gym, or riding a bike, I'll set it on like the counter and then watch it. So today, while I was lifting, I was watching it. Like, I was like setting the phone down and lifting weights and watching this show because I couldn't pause it. I needed to find out like what was happening in the climax. Like I couldn't just stop at a certain level. I was so invested in getting through the show. I needed to know what happened, and I think that says a lot to the story. I loved Fooly Cooley.
So 3 out of 10.
No, not at all. I would love to just playing games or something like that. Just listen to like this soundtrack and the progressive and the alternative soundtrack, and just jam out to the pillows because they seem like something that I could get really invested in, and kind of rare these days where I find like a band that I'm like really in tune with. But every time the pillows came on, I was nodding my head, I was tapping my toes, I was like, yeah, especially like a fight scene or like a high stress scene. I was like, yes, the pillows is adding to that level. And I think that says a lot to what a good soundtrack can do into a show. It was the same thing with Sunny Boy, where that soundtrack elevated the show for me. The pillows elevated Fooly Cooley for me. I loved it. The show holds up. It's better than a lot of what I see even in today's standards. It's why Gainax is a founding father of animation and why it's referenced in anybody who talks about like top tier studios or like most influential studios. Gainax is mentioned. I'm giving the show a 9 out of 10. I absolutely adored it.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest. Was expecting a 10.
It was really close to a 10. It was really close to a 10.
I had already put it in as a 10 and then was doing math and like preparing my little speech after this. But that's
if we got 12 episodes of this, I think it would have been a 10.
That's fair. But all right. Jay, what about you?
So, safe to say I'm a big fan of this show. Like, it definitely influenced, like, my love of anime when I was younger quite a bit. And I gotta say, I gained a lot from doing a rewatch of it as an adult. Like, it's definitely a show that hits different whenever you, like, know that Naota is, like, kind of not I don't want to say like being ridiculous, but like he should slow down and just enjoy being a kid for a while and not and like I don't know. I feel like the themes of the show are expressed so well. There are so many amazing scenes. Like I feel like almost every single episode has an iconic or just beautiful scene, whether it's like Never Knows Best or at the end when Naota is like sobbing into Haruko's chest, asking why she left because like she has become like the surrogate of his older brother at that point, and it's like I feel like everybody can relate to that in some sort of way. Like it's a show that it it it's human. Like at its core, despite how ridiculous it is, it's very human and empathetic. And I think everybody has some character that they can relate to or see themselves and their flaws in through these characters that are really like tragically flawed in some ways. Like Pete said, the soundtrack elevates it. The pillows are just like completely perfect for it. Yeah, honestly, the director of this anime just has insanely good taste in general, I feel. And I would like to hang out and maybe have a beer or two with him. I think that would be sick. Um I gotta go ahead and I'm gonna give this a 9 out of 10 as well.
I wow. All right. Well, so I have to do some more math again because I was expecting another 10.
These are
I
very, very high praise 9s. And like I get
Yeah.
a 9 and 10, it's like those are both obviously like
It's
really high
close to a
scores.
10. It's close to a 10, but I don't know.
I
It's
gave
like on the edge.
Yeah, I gave Sunny Boy a 9, and this is like kind of the same level of Sunny Boy for me. So that's
Well, when you use that logic, I'm gonna bump my score up to a 10 because I gave Sunny Boy a
Oh, I
10.
just did the
Let's go,
math. Damn
Jay.
it. Okay.
Let's
He
go,
did the
Jay.
monster math.
It was a graveyard smash. Monster
Okay.
mash joke? Okay. Damn.
I was there.
Tough crowd.
I was with you, Pete. Don't worry.
You do the mash.
Yes.
Oh, the monster
It's
mash.
almost Halloween.
Is
Yeah,
it?
we're only
6
Well,
months.
In like
halfway
months.
away
Like
almost.
exactly.
Cosmically, you know? It's
Or 5 months away. Yeah,
Yep.
no. Yeah, sure. Well, Halloween is a state of mind, so there you go. And Pete is always rocking it. To the Monster Mash.
It's
But
my
yeah, so
number
for
one
me,
song on my Spotify.
God, I hope not. For for me, yeah, like I said, I bumped my score up. Actually, I was originally gonna give this a 7. I thought, just because like I had fun with it, but I also wasn't like super invested, like beyond just enjoying it for this watch through. I didn't feel super. I didn't feel like I wanted to go and like look for deeper meaning or look for things that I might have missed outside of like this discussion. Obviously, like I did enjoy discussing it more than I thought I would. Um, I think like you guys said, the music really the music raises the score. Haha, good pun there, Pat.
Proud of you.
Thank you. That was a really good one. I that was really good. I think the animation as well is really really well done. I just think the pacing was a little too hectic for me. Coming from someone wearing a Girl in the Gone shirt, that's I still think that, yeah, like Pete said, I think if this was longer, I actually probably would have enjoyed it more, just because I um would have been able to have more time maybe to try to make sense of what's going on the screen, on again on an initial watch or on a first watch. Um, but again, it's hard to like poke holes in it, because a lot of the flaws are, um, or not flaws, but the things that I didn't like aren't necessarily flaws. It's more just like the
Personal
decisions that
taste, yeah.
yeah, it's like the things that they did or chose to do. So I think an 8 out of 10 is a perfectly fair score for this, which is funny because the MAL score is an 8.03, and our average score collectively is an 8 point. I already put it into the thing, but then I closed my calculator. It's an 8 point, I think
7.5.
8.75. So originally, when I thought both of you guys were given your 10 out of 10s, I was ready to say that this is the uh, second highest rated show we've ever had, behind Odd Taxi, which stunningly has a 9.4, which is very hard to do because I think it had like 5 or 6 people on the show too.
It was five
Uh,
of us, I think.
it was five of us, which oh yeah, that makes sense with the point four.
It's all
'Cause
coming
that's
together.
yeah, the math. Isn't math cool?
Math is
Isn't it
fun.
cool when math works? I wouldn't say that, Pete, but I would say it's cool. But yeah, so it is still probably a top 10 rated show for us. It's
It's tied with
8.75.
the Atomic Galaxy, right behind Yuri on Ice and right ahead of Perfect Blue.
And behind Isoken as well. A couple
Oh
other
yeah,
shows
and
that go
behind
ahead.
Ping Pong and Violet and Tokyo Godfathers as well.
And Godfathers. Yep. Yeah. So top 10. That sounds like 10 names we said. But yeah, I think I do think the score would have been brought down a little bit had we had a couple of the other club members join. But they just have shit taste.
Especially
So it
Johnny,
doesn't matter.
yeah.
No,
Johnny for sure would have given this a 6 or a 7.
it's not his style. There you
Joe
go.
is literally older than Johnny, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is our 8th highest, or tied for 6th or something.
Cool.
Praise be the spreadsheet.
Yes. Yeah.
We're not
Praise be
worthy.
versus Praise be the Notes app that just has things listed for me. Yeah, you can tell which one of us, works and their job is to be organized. Which one is that? Yeah, it's definitely not me. Totally not. Either way, now let's move on to our nominations that we voted on this past week for June 13th is going to be our next Watch Club grouping. So, Miles, what were the results of that voting?
So, Pete, you just got yourself a sweet new tattoo. Really quick, I'm gonna do a quick segue. What show is that from?
That is from Mob Psycho 100.
So we are, of course, the 13th of June is our next one. So, what is the OP of Mob Psycho 100?
The first one is 99 and the second one is 99.9.
So if you take 99 and you subtract 13, Pete, what do you get?
We get 86.
Yeah. So we're not watching 86.
You not
but...
fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Not today, boys.
But the numbers worked out so well.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
So in third place we have Classroom of the Elite.
Holy shit.
So that gets its 6th legacy point.
New record. I think that's a new record for legacy.
New record. In second we have Redline, which had a respectable 13 points and will be gaining its first legacy point. And in first place we have Megalobox. The J Factor himself.
Love to see
So
it.
we will be
First time back
watching.
to back, maybe? Is that the first time back to
No,
back?
Miles
Fully Cooley
actually
was
nominated
mine.
Fully Cooley, but I
Oh.
told him to, so the spirit was
It-
there.
Also, it depends if you mean anyone's back to back, because I had like a double hat trick one time, but
Who's counting?
Sick
who's
brag.
counting?
All
I
right,
am. It's in the
all right.
spreadsheet.
All right, Connor,
Um,
that's fair. Let's yeah, you're right. That's right. I forgot about that long stretch.
I had a back-to-back with Golden Kamuy and Bungo Stray Dogs, literally
Yes.
when I first got here.
Jay has had 3 in a pretty short time, all things considered. So
J factor, man. That's just the J factor. All right. Let's so yeah, we'll be watching Megalobox. I'm excited because that's one of those shows that like I just didn't watch because I was like, sports show, I don't care. But wow, its rating on Mal is lower than I thought it would be. A 7.89. I feel like the way people talk about this show, I expect it to be like an 8.5.
I thought it was
or
going to be
something like
higher
that.
too on Mao,
The
honestly. I thought
the what is it? The Ashino Joe haters bringing it down.
Is that
Yeah.
it must be what it is because this was it was running for anime of the year, wasn't it? The year that was
At
released.
the Crunchyroll Awards. Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I mean, it was.
I think it
pretty
had the most nominations of any show that year. It was like 13, and it won like 1.
It was in like that's the thing. I remember
Jesus.
being in like every award that I voted in.
Mhm.
But yeah, not that our votes matter in those awards, anyways. But yeah. All right, let's talk about what we're nominating for this next week or the following session, which would be June the 3rd. I think I looked at it earlier. Yep, the 27th. So wow, that's a long ways away. But yeah, what are we nominating? Miles, why don't you start us off?
So I'm going to nominate. I'm going to ditch Redline for the time being, and I'm going to nominate the 1995 Ghost in the Shell movie.
Nice.
Ooh, spicy.
So that's I feel like I don't know if any of us. I haven't seen it, and then I didn't realize that it was like a movie and not a show that like
I haven't seen it.
started the series. So I figured that would be pretty easy for us to consume, and it would keep us on a trend of old classics. So
Nice, I like that. All right, Pete, what about you?
Well, I'm gonna switch up and do new classics, and I'm gonna re-up Classroom of the Elite.
Wow. Going for
will the
easy
tag
points,
team of
shaking my
Pete and
head.
Johnny eventually get Classroom of the Elite?
I just need to watch it before season 2 in July, so this is the perfect time to watch it.
Okay.
All right, and then Jay, what have you got?
I am going to attempt to go for a second season of a show we've watched, and I'm going to nominate Golden Kamuy
Golden?
Season 2.
Okay.
Wow, so that's I think well, other than not Mother's Rosario,
Mother's Rosario Vampire.
the good is that has that been Jeopardy yet? That has to have been. No way, it
Oh,
can't be.
Mother's
Come on.
Rosario Vampire? Yeah, it'll be in the next one. Don't
That'll
worry.
be in the
I'll-
next one.
I'll get there.
Yeah, this SAO arc and
Where
leads
Kirito goes into and finds Mocha the vampire, who
yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, we played that joke a little too long, but it works. What do we got here? What am I nominating? Fuck, you know, do I
You're
really
the
wanna
cat
just
of this
nominate-
episode, not knowing what you're nominating.
I feel well. Again, it's tough because like so much of the stuff that I have on my watch list that I haven't seen yet is either movies that we're waiting for or 2 core or longer shows. You know, like wait or shows obviously that haven't aired yet. So
What about Beyond the Boundary by Kyoto Annie? That's 13 episodes and on my plan to watch.
oh wow, that's on your plan to watch.
Yes.
I haven't seen it on my plan to watch yet though. That's the only issue. Damn, like I want to nominate the new Ruby show, but of course that starts July 4th. So like fuck, I can't and we obviously wouldn't be able to watch it in time. I don't know, man. Why don't you know what? We'll go way back in our watch
Ooh.
club's history and nominate the Princess Principal first movie.
Ooh,
Oh, okay.
nice.
Princess Principal Crown Handler.
That would be I would enjoy us talking about that. Even if it would be and well, have fun with that homework, Jay. And you have to vote for it too. That's the best part. You have to pick
Yeah,
it.
last.
Yes.
You can pick it last if you want, but I don't know. Just it
The
should
thing
be.
is, if I don't pick it last, then Classroom of the Elite just wins. Like,
Yeah, so this is big brain by me, man. But yeah, no, obviously.
Pat's playing 4D chess over there.
Yep, there you go. I'm getting payback.
Wow, this might be It'll be a big upset if a sequel that isn't Rosario Vampire is the first thing to get a sequel in.
Honestly, kind of want to do it just to piss Has off. So
Yeah,
think about
please.
that.
So there you go. People who are still listening for whatever goddamn reason you still listen to us ramble
Oh,
on.
and also, I just want to state that I'm only nominating this against my will. Originally, I wanted to nominate Valkyrie Drive Mermaid, and these fuckers would not let me. It's not a hentai.
It's a hentai.
It's not a hentai.
It's a hentai.
Wait,
It's not a hentai.
Me,
Both
Who's
of
gonna
these
let
these two Puritans here.
I'm not gonna talk with 5 to 7 dudes about how getting girls off turn into weapons and then have to save the world somehow.
It would have been lit. It would
that's
have been
gotta
lit.
be several anime.
It's two.
Yeah,
it's
it's not a
Masogaken HH and Valkyrie Drive
It's not a
Mermaid.
hentai.
It's a hentai. I have watched it.
It's not a hentai.
Miles is like the epitome of like, oh, if I had a nickel for every time that I saw an anime
Yeah.
about girls getting off and turning into guns, I'd only have 2 nickels, but it'd be strange that I'd have 2. You know,
Yeah.
like
It's
that
not a
kind of
lot,
thing.
but it's weird that it happened twice.
Yeah. No, we're starting with these sequels as our potential watches, and I'm sorry, Jay, but that well, how would Has make a thumbnail for that though? That's the problem.
I have an idea.
I'm thinking long.
I don't think Has would have any issues, actually.
I think he would have a lot of issues making it one that doesn't get us demonetized because we make so much money off of this podcast. You got to think. See, I'm thinking of our long-term growth and our.
This is
long-term
Pete's bread and butter.
You're ruining the
Yeah.
Patreon, bro.
Yeah, oh, yeah, the Patreon.
Check out our
Oh.
announced Patreon coming 2024.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah. When I have my gambling problem takes over too much, and I need a Patreon to cover my expenses. Then
yeah, but
that's
if
what
you
I'll do.
actually, If you actually
Okay,
want to
so
support us,
coming later in 2022.
There you go.
Patreon.
There you go.
here we go. So if we want to support us though, you can come boost our server in Discord so that we can keep the hashtag or the /anime podcast URL link. That'd be pretty cool.
Just need one.
But yeah, just need one booster from any fellow DxD fans out there. Not that I'm a fellow with you. I don't know.
Yeah, bro.
All right, we are
Yeah,
really
okay.
going on. All right, this is a long. No, come on, man. I prefer the other ecchi high school show of the Dead with zombies. So there we go. I remember I
Pete,
watched.
why don't you
DxD
tell them
by
where they
accident.
can find us at?
Oh yeah.
That's the thing. I found that show by accident. I watched DxD thinking it was High School of the Dead, and I actually that's it. I watched like an episode and I was like, wait, this isn't zombies, and then I figured it out.
Pat, I
yeah,
too
that was-
also accidentally watched 12 episodes of
Well, no,
Valkyrie
then I
Drive
watched
Mermaid.
it eventually. I eventually did watch it. I did. I'm not gonna lie. I did watch DxD, but either way, that's irrelevant. Just also want to shout out Happy Memorial Day. Thank you to all our veterans out there, current and past and future. And yeah, there we go. Pete, why don't you end us off?
Cool. And if you have made it this far and you want to support the podcast, the best way to do so, like, comment, subscribe, leave a review on whatever platform you are watching or listening to us on. I have to give a shout out to Cody, Anna, Tina, Mel, and Mark because I left a party to do this podcast and they were not happy with me, but I said I'd shout them out in the podcast if I left. So they're cool with that,
You
hopefully.
fucking nerd. You nerd. Oh my god.
It was fun. Next week we are bringing back the Mal review game. We did it once, probably about a year or so ago, I think, and we're bringing that back. So we got another fun game coming up. That's will be super fun. Otherwise, if you are here for Watch Club, we will see you in 2 weeks for Megalobox. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.